up, guys? Welcome back to the ABARTH Chris YouTube channel. So I know it has been a few weeks, but I've been having some memory card issues. We got those all figured out though, so we're going to get back to posting some more videos for you guys. I wasn't able to get really any footage of the ABARTH Mini Cooper meet because I ran out of memory on the way up. And either way, I was just not filming like I should have. So we're starting from here, and we're going to try and give you guys some good coverage from here on out. Today I'm going to do a little video, 5 best mods you can do for the ABARTH, with a couple runner-ups thrown in there just because it's really hard to decide between 5. But I picked out what I think those 5 mods, if I did it again, would be my first 5, and would really set the car up nice for a good base. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up at a sweet little spot where I can park the car and kind of talk / walk around. Yeah, so let's let you guys in on what those 5 best mods are. Alright guys, so what are the 5 best mods? You might be wondering. You might have an ABARTH that you haven't quite modded yet, or you've just started getting into modding and you're wondering, what should I do first? What will give me the maximum amount of power and handling and reliability, and still be able to drive the car daily and go have fun with it on weekends or go to track days and stuff? Well, here we go. Number 5 for me are the coil packs and plugs, and I put those together because if you're going to spend about almost $300 on the coil packs, you should probably fork over the extra $50 for the plugs. It will change the game of the car. It'll make it it'll essentially set it up to be able to handle the power that you'll throw at it with other mods, you know, including tune, FMIC, lightweight crank pulley, downpipe, all those things. So for me, the coil packs and the plugs were a huge miss. It took me way too long to do it. I should have done it first thing, but I tried to throw a bunch of power at this thing before I ever upgraded the ignition system, and I ended up hurting the car a little bit, some backfires or misfires rather, and that's not good stuff. You don't want to be doing what I did to your car and just beating the hell out of it. You definitely want to upgrade those first so you can put the power down smoothly and not really have to worry about breaking the car either. Alright, so for number 4, this is a little bit of a wild card. It's actually not even a performance technically or a handling mod. What I think the 4th best upgrade for the ABARTH is a harness. And the reason I say that is because we have a really nice kind of everyday street style bucket seat. As you can see, I have the Schroth racing harness that hooks up to where the seat used to be connected. It's actually supposed to hook up to the child safety lock in the seat when you have the rear seat, but since I gutted that, I just hooked it up to where the seat should be bolted. The reason I say number 4 for that one is because once you get your ignition system running good, and you're able to throw some power and handling at it, before you can even do that, you need either, well, and I say harness because that's the cheaper route, but you could get a seat with a harness or just a seat, because when you're driving this thing on the canyons or on a track, you are fighting yourself the entire time if you don't have a harness. Every time you turn, your body's gonna get thrown the other way and this way and back this way and up and down. But when you have the harness, it, you know, even if you keep the stock seat, it keeps you planted in the seat, so you can really focus on driving and not have to focus on trying to keep your body in position and fight it, because the car has so much body roll, even once you start getting into body or performance upgrades and handling upgrades, that you need a harness. Otherwise, like I said, you're just going to be fighting it the whole time, and you're not even going to be able to get to drive. You're just going to be worried about trying to keep planted in your seat, and you're going to have a nice ab workout by the end of the day, but that's not necessarily the goal, and it's not how you're going to set fast lap times on a track. So eliminating that, so that's kind of like the first 2 things is the coil packs and plugs, and that kind of eliminate not any, but a lot of variables. Once you're going to go and add those handling upgrades and add those power upgrades, you'll have those 2 kind of base things to hold yourself in and keep your car kind of all set for all the power you're going to throw at it. So number 3 on the list is well, I use BC, but any kind of coilover really you can get for this thing. That is 2-way adjustable. So I believe the Bilstons aren't 2-way adjustable, and I think there's one more, I don't know if it's the Megans or one of the other right around $1,000 coilovers. only have one-way adjustability, but the two-way with the dampening is the game changer. It's so nice to just be able to, at the crank of a dial, turn up the dampening, which I'm actually going to show you guys right now. Changing the dampening for the street, I literally run it all the way on soft, and then when I go to the track, I can turn it all the way on hard, and it feels like a track car and it responds. And right here you can see it hard and soft. I just turn the dial right there in either direction, and I can totally change the dampening, as well as the height adjustability has been huge, especially converting to the new wheels. I'm trying to get this setup all figured out, which, by the way, guys, this is not a permanent setup right here with those universal flares. We got some big things coming, so all I can say is stay tuned for that. But anyway, back to the coilovers. Huge benefit to the car. The adjustability is everything, being able to change your height and being able to change the dampening. And if you can get three-way adjustable coilovers, that would be even better. My only complaint about the BCs is the spring rate is a little soft. So on the track, it does dive a lot forward and back. Side to side, obviously, because the unibody chassis stiffening is just garbage. But there's still a lot of give when you're really driving the car on the limit. But as far as canyon driving goes and daily street driving, the BCs are absolutely amazing. They ride really nice. It's a comfortable ride, assuming you don't slam your car all the way to the bump stops, which I was doing for a little while. But now that I've raised it back up, it does ride really nice again, and the suspension's really smooth. And it looks good down there. It looks good to look into the corner of your car and see a coilover and a rotor and wheels and all that. So it's definitely nice to have, but more so than anything is the adjustability and the option to tune for your preferences and for the kind of streets you drive on. Because like around here, specifically in this area of San Diego that I live in, up in these hills over here, the roads are so shitty, and there's bumps everywhere. It's essentially a giant whoop section. You'd think you need a pre-runner for this, but we're out here in the Fiat. But anyway, that suspension adjustability has been key for me, and I think it's one of the better mods you can do for this car. I think it's the third best mod you can do for this car. It really brings the handling to life in this thing. The sway bars and the chassis braces are nice too, but suspension is, I would say, even more important than that. So number 2 on my top 5 mods list. So number 2 is a little bit of a cheat, but let me tell you why. So my number 2 is a combo FMIC and ATM front fender well intake. Now, I know it's like, okay, well, that's 2 completely separate mods, but to run the ATM front fender well intake, you have to have an FMIC. And if I was doing it again, instead of buying an intake and then getting an FMIC and then having to switch intakes because my intake's running like 50 degrees too hot, which, by the way, yours probably are too if you're running any of the other intakes on the market, because anything up in the engine bay is going to be way too warm. You need to be taking air from down here, out on the side. Even the ATM Holy Cow one that goes up there, I don't think is a good option because you really don't get that much airflow in there. But the other hot air intakes that they have on the market for this car just really aren't good. I can't speak enough to how much of a difference the ATM front fender well intake made. There's absolutely no more heat soaking. I draw cold air all the time. It's really woken the car up, especially if I'm sitting in bumper to bumper traffic, and then the second I get on an open road, I can floor it and I have all the cold air. There's absolutely no heat soak. I never feel that loss of power, which I really did with the RM unit. That thing would get so hot and I could just feel the power just getting lower and lower and lower as I keep hammering it and keep driving it. And when you're at a track too, that's huge. To have that constant rush of cold air into the car is amazing. And the FMIC is also huge on that. It gets all that cold air back into the system, and then it's able to create a much better charge. It's much more efficient because you rip out all that crap stock piping from the stock intercoolers, and you save a little bit of weight too. And look at that diamond grill though. It looks so good. I love it. And if you look really close in there, you can see the intercooler piping, and then you can see my intake filter sitting right in there. And that's what I mean. You're just getting coldest air possible. And back here, there are some slits on the inside of the wheel well, but I taped all that off, so nothing can get from the inside of the wheel well to there. It's only receiving from the front. And like I said, I mean, that's all the cold air. When I pulled up to Aaron's house one time, we did a little engine bay testing, and right here it was like 140 degrees. Right here where the intake used to breathe, it was 120, and down here it was ambient temperature 70 degrees. So really, really big difference. I can't speak enough to the ATM front fender well intake and the combo of the FMIC. Like I said, you have to have an FMIC before you do the intake, so I would either, if I was doing it again, save up to do both at the same time, or I would do the FMIC and then follow up with the intake as well. And both of those together are definitely a pretty penny. But when I put on the what's it called, the FMIC, when I was still running the RRM whatever Ultimate 3, I saw a difference of about 30 foot-pounds of torque. And I don't trust the horsepower measurement because it's like off by hundreds. My torque measurement, you know, might be off by 10 to 20, but it's close enough to get a good measurement, and I saw, you know, an increase of 30. So whether or not it's right on point, there was an increase of about 30 foot-pounds of torque just from adding that FMIC. That was huge, huge, huge. And it's funny because Rob Tellini of RRM couldn't stop telling me about how useless the FMICs are for the car and how bad they are and how it just heat soak and make everything worse. And then I plug an FMIC into his unit essentially, and it gives me way more power, and my car is never heat soaked. In fact, my fans never turn on after a long day of driving. My car has absolutely no issues with that, and I actually haven't heard of anybody having issues with that. So if anyone tells you that an FMIC is bad for this car, they are bullshitting you. But yeah, I know that is, that's a pricey upgrade right there with the intake and the FMIC. But doing that, I wouldn't be surprised if you unlock a solid 40 to 50 foot-pounds of torque and probably around 30 horsepower for your car, just from really opening up the breathing and getting that cold air in there. That 50 degrees plus the extra cold charge air, I mean, it makes the world of a difference, and the efficiency is also huge. Instead of running through where it gets sucked and pushed in here and around there, it's just up and in. It's quick, it's one piece, it's not shooting air into another piece, or, you know, one long piece through a filter and through another piece and in there. It's just right to the turbo. That's it. Even better would be a side exit pipe coming out of the hood, so everything just goes in and out. But I live in California, and hood exit pipes are not really a thing around here. So, but yeah, anyway, getting on a tangent. Number 2 is ATM front fender wheel intake and FMIC, which I do recommend either the ATM FMIC or the Ero Compulsion one. Gosh, I know there was another one that, and I forget the name of the company, but it also does like the Ero Compulsion does, it replaces all the hoses, and it's even shorter, but it's a smaller area of FMIC. There's less actual area to absorb the cold air, so I'd personally go with the slightly bigger one. I don't know, I just want all the cold air possible, and it might not really make a difference, but, you know, I like the look of having a just massive intercooler sitting in the front of the car, so that's why I went with that one. Oh, and I think it's actually the Corsa Performance intercooler, which is also a good option, and it's even shorter piping than the EC, but like I said, a little bit of smaller intercooler, so, you know, give and take on that one. Alright guys, and number 1, it is finally time. What's the best mod you can do for this car? And I feel like most of you already know what I'm going to say, but that would be Ero Drive. Ero Drive has been the most game-changing thing for this car I think I've done. It really cleared up a lot of ECU issues I was having. The boost is just so linear, the power is linear, and it's drivable too. When I'm in phase 0, driving first and second gear, there's not really a whole lot, and then you hit third and just all the boost kicks in when you want. Or I can hit sport, press, and go into phase 2, and the next thing I know, I can leave on 2-step and freaking bang gears all the way down while it's just popping and banging all over the place. That has been, I mean, that's obviously the one thing that woke the car up the most, but to be able to do that you do have to have like a couple upgrades. I'm pretty sure Ero Compulsion recommends an FMIC and the Go Fast Bits derivative valve, I think, and an exhaust are like the three. They're like, if you're not going to do anything, or if you're going to only do 3 things, do those 3 things for the tune. I think an intake is pretty vital too. You really got to open up the breathing, and the reason I haven't done an exhaust is because these cars do sound good from the factory. So that was kind of one of my selling points when I bought this thing was, man, I don't have to, I don't have to worry about getting an exhaust for it. It already sounds good. That saves me like $1,000. I will be doing one soon because it does sound choked up, having a catless downpipe and then the skinny stock exhaust all the way back. I think it would give it a really nice kind of deep throatier sound if I did an exhaust, and I plan on doing a custom one and maybe a little center exit, we'll see. But yeah, the tune has just been such a game changer. Now that I've had it on for a while, it's super drivable. It's very predictable. Before, when I was with the RM unit and having all my issues with that thing, I didn't know if I was going to get boost, or when I was going to get boost, or how much boost I was going to get, or if it was going to spike and then drop. It was so unpredictable. I never knew what was going to happen. But now I can literally essentially be like, all right, I'm going to press the throttle and I'm going to get this and this and this and this, and all those things happen. Yeah, that Ero Compulsion tune makes everything on the car just way more predictable, way more drivable, way more usable. And I can't wait to get this thing on the track running phase 2. I mean, it's gonna scoot, and now that I'm running these pretty beefy Sport Comp 2s, I think we can get some good traction too, although I had really good traction with the Federal 595 RRs. Those are fantastic tires, and they actually held up to a lot of street driving after track day as well. So the longevity of those tires, I was very pleasantly surprised by that. But these have been pretty good so far. I mean, granted, my rubbing issues on the fender, but we've taken care of that for the most part. Now I just rub a little bit at full lock, but stay tuned because that's what all that stuff is going to be happening. So yeah, going back down the list, guys. Number 5, we have the coil packs and the plugs. Number 4 would be a harness. Number 3 are coilovers. Number 2 are the combo intake and FMIC. And number 1 will be that Ero Compulsion tune. Alright, so, and on top of the 5 best mods that we just did, I have 3 runner-ups. First thing first is the Ero Compulsion turbo lines, which mine are filthy right now, but these turbo lines make working on your car so much easier. They kind of slide right on and off. They're not all brittle and kind of this like crappy stock material that they use. They're really easy to work with, they're really functional, and they look really nice as well. So those are definitely a big runner-up for me. Another runner-up is the rear sway bar. The second you put that on, the difference you feel, you can let off, there's no lift-off oversteer, there's no really fuss from the rear end anymore when you're like getting off the gas or coming on the brakes hard in a corner. When you're taking that weight off the rear end and lifting it up, it's not just wiggling its ass around anymore. It's actually able to stay kind of planted, and you can kind of dive it into the corner you want. So my number 2 runner-up is definitely that sway bar. And number 3 is the derivative valve and blow-off plate combo. That is the very first thing I did for my car. It's super inexpensive mod, and that blow-off plate is such an awesome sound. Some people complain that you can't really hear anything unless you have the blow-off valve, but they probably put it in the wrong way, because you can put it in with the blow-off hole facing inward or outward. If you put it outward, I can guarantee you will hear your turbo blow off, and it'll be nice and loud, and everybody else will hear it too. Anybody that says you can't hear it is just lying, or they installed it wrong. And the derivative valve makes the car, it made the car even stock respond way better. The boost, I think it goes, instead of the boost kicking in at 2400 RPMs, it makes it kick in I think around like 18, which is nice to have that extra like 600 RPMs, or I think it might be 1900 or something, but you get an extra like 500 RPMs of boost essentially. And being able to, hit that quick shift and hold the boost through the shifts is huge as well, because losing all your boost and then building it back up as you're shifting, it takes too long, and essentially it makes your car, it doesn't actually give your car any power, and it won't add horsepower, but it'll make the horsepower you have more efficient, and it'll make you be able to use the power you have and put it down to the street better, without lag, and kind of without any fuss too. It really helped a lot. And I love the sound of the blow-off plate, and it's super inexpensive and it's super easy to do. So those are my 3 runner-ups. On top of the 5, that would be the turbo lines, the blow-off plate and derivative valve, and then that rear sway bar. Those are my 3 runner-ups. And then once again, the 5 best mods were the coil packs and plugs, harness, coilovers, FMIC and intake combo, and then the tune. Yeah, so, and that is from my personal experience, but I put a good amount of mods into this car, and I have a bunch of other ones that I also really like. Callus downpipe was really good. I really like the lightweight crank pulley. That was another really, really good mod. The turbo blanket has been fantastic in soaking up all that heat down there. And even front chassis brace is really nice. All those little things I did really like, but I think the ones I mentioned were definitely like the top if I were to do it again. And in fact, before I even do the 5 best mods, I'd probably do that derivative valve, because if you're gonna fork over for the tune and for the FMIC and all that, you can probably get the derivative valve in there as well. And it is recommended from Ero Compulsion to run with the tune as well. For me, I think it's awesome. Whether you're running a tune or not, I think you should have that thing in your car. But yeah, guys, those are the 5 best mods plus a couple extras for your car. So later on this week, I'll be doing some videos, the 5 things I hate about the ABARTH and 5 things I love about it. So no matter how much time and money I put into this thing, I love this thing to death, but there are some things I do dislike about it and that I would change about it. So stay tuned for those. But for now, guys, thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more, and keep giving her the berries, guys. Oh yeah.